I'm going to show you how to do a couple things that should make it easier for you to do your class assignments. Just pause this video as you follow along and get these things done, and then you can hit play whenever you're completed something. So the first thing I would do is go under Tools in Dev C++, go to Editor Options, and then under Completion tab, you'll see symbol completion. If you don't want it automatically putting these quotes and braces and parentheses and brackets in, turn that off, and then you'll just be able to type and you won't have to keep moving the cursor around. I'm not really sure why somebody would want those on, or if there's a shortcut for moving past the ending ones that they put, but I find them annoying, so I would turn them off. And then just so you recall, if you go back under Editor Options, if you want to change the color scheme because you don't like the way it looks, you can go under Colors under the same option, and then you can choose what theme you want. This is the Borland, which is what we selected for you, and then hit OK. So when you make a new file, you will see that it's going to be that color scheme. The next thing I want to show you is an easier way of testing your program without having to keep opening and closing the run window. So after you've entered in some code and you want to try it out, click execute and then just tell it to compile. And that will put the file in wherever your project is, and will put the executable in that folder, which this is where it's at in my case. Once you've done that, you can open up a command window. So you open up a command window, and you can use the cd command to go into that directory wherever you're saving your project files. And then you will see the exe file that you just compiled. So for example, this GPA sums file. So if I do a dir GPA sums, you can see this is the one I just compiled now. Once you see it, you can actually run the program interactively in this window. So you can keep this window open and put it somewhere else, or you can leave it here and then just keep switching back and forth between those two screens. So if we want to run this one, we just type in the name, sums.exe, and then you can put in your values. If you detect an error in your program and you want to rework it, you just go back to your window, make your changes in here, and then you can just say compile, and it will recompile it again. It'll make a new version of that file. And you can see it's got a new date and time stamp compared to just a minute ago. Another thing you can do, since you've got a window open, is instead of typing in the values to the program, you can save the values that you want to use to test with in a text file, and then you can put that data into your program using redirection. So normally when you run a program, it's going to allow you to enter the data on your keyboard like we're seeing here. If you don't want to have to keep retyping this in all the time, you can make a text file. So to do that, for example, with the values they gave you in the book for the GPAs, you can make a GPA sample text file like this, and then your program is going to use 99 to end the values, and then you just save that into that same directory so that you have it accessible right there, and you hit save. So now if we look in that directory, we should see a GPA sample.txt. And there it is. And if we look at the file, you'll see that those are the values to be entered. All you have to do to use it is you use redirection. So in the case of this program, we type in the name of the program, and then we type GPA sample.txt, and that will put those values into the program. That's the redirection symbol. So instead of the values coming in from the keyboard, they're coming in from this text file. So when we hit enter, you'll see that it put in all those values. There's the 99. And then it'll, depending on what you had your program display, you'll see that it calculated the GPA and that this was the correct answer. So as you're working on your program, you can keep retyping things into your program, but when you want to run it, you can just redirect the input from your text file. Another example text file that I made was this one, because I wanted to see what would happen if we entered more than 30 values. So this one's just called gpas.txt. So if I do the same thing again, and I say gpas.txt, notice how it filled up all 30 values and it hit that max value that we wanted to set, and then it calculated the GPA based on all those 30 values. Now, an easy way to check this instead of using a calculator is you can make an Excel spreadsheet, for example, and you can put in the test values there, and then you can do a sum of the values so you know that the sum of what you had in your calculation was correct. So here's the 30 values I put in, and you can see that those values came out to the same sum, which is this value here. And then we are looking at 30 elements, which we see here. And then in the Excel spreadsheet, we just put in the formula for calculating the average. So it is the sum, which is cell A31, divided by 30 elements. And then the Excel spreadsheet calculated the GPA. And we can see that that exactly matched what our program did. So that way we know that we're getting the right values. So this is a quicker way of putting in values. And then in the second sheet that I made, I've got the values that they used in the example, and then there is the sum. So if I want to run that one again, I can just do this. So my values were a sum of 19.5. So there's the sum statement. And then if we're using Excel correctly, we just want to say that this cell equals the sum divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3.25. And it's probably easier if you don't use spaces in file names. So otherwise you'll have to quote the file name. So usually it's better to put dashes and generally use lowercase. So for example, in this one, I should probably rename the name of the project and call it GPA Average Calc. So that I've renamed it and recompiled it, you can see here's the exe file. So if I type GPA average calc.exe, it's a little easier to run without putting quotes and spaces in it.